Hi everyone, welcome back to our series Research That Matters. I'm Lauren Jackson, a Parker Scholar in the Parker College of Business, majoring in marketing. Today with me I have Dr. Yuan Lee, Assistant Professor of Marketing, and today she's going to be describing us her research. Thank you, Dr. Yuan.
Very pleasure to be here.
Can you briefly describe to us what your research topic is?
Sure. So this topic basically investigates whether the luxury brands should use chatbot, and if they use chatbot, do they need to include the emoticons in the brand communications? So basically, we are trying to answer two questions. The first one is that comparing to human agents, if we use the chatbot in luxury brand communications, does it actually lower the luxury brand status perception? And then the second question is really about if we include and use the emoticons in luxury chatbot communications, does it have any influence in luxury brand status perception? So we ran several studies, and our findings basically suggest that it's a little contrary to people's common belief. If you compare chatbot with human agent, it doesn't necessarily lower luxury brand status perception, but for luxury brands, it's probably a little better to not to use emoticons in brand status, in brand communication, because it actually will lower the status perception, because people have this unexpected perceptions about emoticons usage in chatbot communications, and that's what we found in our findings.
Okay, very interesting. Can you explain what sparked your interest for this topic? Why did you choose luxury brands over other brands?
Okay, so this is a collaboration work with my colleague Han Zhixing. So there was one time when we discussed, we're trying to find out something interesting about luxury brand. And we noticed that last year, luxury brand has a huge setback because of pandemic. But we found one interesting thing is that the online sales continue to grow. So in 2019, the market share for online luxury sales is 12%. Yeah. But in 2020, it actually increased, almost doubled, even though the overall sales has been set back. So we think there are a lot of implications here for the chatbot applications. So this is the starting point. We found this could be a very, very important topic, but we don't see a lot of research in the academic. So this is how we actually start on this chatbot implications and usage.
Okay, so how do you think your research impacts students, and how can you take this back into, for example, your market research class? Because I know, I did something about luxury brands and personalization and how their niche is that, and because of COVID, that has decreased. So they're obviously looking for other ways since people are not going inside. So how do you think your research can benefit students?
I think have a very active research is very, very beneficial to my teaching. First of all, it gives me a very fresh idea about what is going on and what is the trend in the field. And second, I will be able to incorporate all the projects I have done into my marketing research class. And for my classes, students are required to do research projects. So I try to help them to formulate their own exciting research projects. And I work with them in terms of creating very, very effective questionnaires and help them to find out the answers. So I definitely think, especially for a marketing research class, and I'm teaching this class, it's very, very useful and beneficial.
Also, what's something that you didn't expect doing this research? Something that didn't go to plan, or something that you didn't foresee, with the results?
So I think one thing that is particularly interesting is that when we're actually trying to compare luxury brands chatbot versus human agents, right? We know that previously people have a common belief that because luxury brands are so unique, they have many very interesting characteristics that is uncommon to the common brands. For example, it's very, very high price, high quality. They have a very broad connections with consumers, and it's perceived as prestigious images. And for that many uniqueness, you don't expect luxury brands to use chatbot. You want more personal, individualized services. But actually, in our study, we found it's not the case. If you compare luxury brands chatbot versus human agents, you will see that overall, chatbots have been very, very effective in providing services, like to handle simple tasks, just like taking orders, checking the locations, office hours, the schedules, store schedules, and that kind of simple task. They have no problems. And does not lower the status perception for luxury consumers.
What type of participants were used in this study?
So in this study, we actually use both the students and also the participants we recruited from Prolific. Especially, we can be able to recruit some of the real customers. And we think the student participants in this luxury chatbot usage is very, very relevant too, especially for Generation Z, like students, Generation Z, and they are one of the largest group for online luxury brand interactions. So they have been a very, very solid foundations for this online luxury brands chatbot usage. So we think that's very, very relevant.
Also, do you think like the switch in target market from like Gen Z to older generations is moving more towards like online personalization, like the chat boxes, or do you think that they're going to have to find like another solution besides like the chat box to assist like in luxury brands?
So for the chatbot, particularly like in terms of the demographic, we noticed that Gen Z is the major demographic group, but I don't think that it necessarily need to be the case with more of the technology adoptions. I think more of the other generations will be able to actually use that, and the findings can be applied to other generations. Because in our studies, we actually also control the age factor, and it does not seem to be an effect. We tested both the student samples, we tested different kind of participants, real consumers, age varying from like 19 to 65, over 65. We see these consistent findings across all studies. So I don't think it will just be limited to Gen Z.
Okay. What challenges that were faced or unanswered questions within this study excited you for another study?
I think the study itself is pretty interesting, but I do notice there are some of the areas that we can probably continue to explore. For example, for this particular research, we focus a lot on this emoticons effect, right? Try to make the chatbot a little human-like and make the communications more effective. But there are many other factors we can continue to explore in other areas. For example, maybe we can think about give chatbot a nickname, because we already know that people start to name their like Roomba. Mm-hmm. They give the Roomba a name, and if you just search it, you'll see a lot of results on that topic. So we think this could be a potential path to go, especially people already expect you give your automatic products a name. Mm-hmm. And the other thing will be the different languages that you can have chatbot use. So if we have the chatbot use more empathetic language, does it actually make these communications more effective? And do we still expect the status perception to be the same? So this can be one interesting area. And I think there are other paths to go as well. For this particular study, we focus a lot on the simple task, right? You just have the chatbot to answer questions like finding the locations and providing some product informations. So can we apply chatbot in other more complicated situations? For example, will you be able to trust chatbot in the same way as you trust your doctors, financial advisors in the other domains, like financial advising or medical conditions? So this could be the other area to go. Yeah.
Do you think that the naming of the chatbot will impact the luxury brand's image?
I think this, as I just mentioned, this will be a future direction to go. I don't have like direct evidence to show whether it will go either way, but I kind of feel like if we provide and call luxury chatbot with a nickname, it might probably be more appropriate compared to when we use emoticons. Because when we use emoticons in the communications, people don't really expect the chatbot to use emoticons, because emoticons are mainly used in the interpersonal communications, and all the past literature has focused on examining the emoticons effect in interpersonal communications. So you don't really expect a chatbot to show this different kind of cute emotions to facilitate their emotion expression. But for the nickname, it will be the other way. Probably people already expect to call their maybe Roomba or maybe their KitchenAid a certain name. So they have this kind of acceptance. So we probably will not see this lower perceived properties. People already kind of expect. So I will probably, think we will probably not see the consistent, exact same effect as we found in this study. But it will be interesting to explore.
Okay. Going off of the emoticons, did you guys use specific emoticons in the study?
For the emoticons, actually, it's like textual or pictorial icons to facilitate in the digital communications. And it's not just like one type of emoticons. You can use emoticons to express emotions.
Yes.
And it can also represent different signs and symbols. So, yeah.
Did you guys use them based on emotions, like, for example, like happiness, sadness?
Yes, we do that. Yeah,
okay.
We include that too.
Okay.
Like hand gestures, happiness to express like welcome, stuff like that.
Were there rankings, like based on which ones were more preferred, like hand gestures, happy feelings, negative feelings, like in the study?
We include all of those kind of different emotions, and we also create different scenarios to test that. So we try to be as broad as possible, and we also use it in different settings. Like, for example, in one study, we test it with Rolex, in a Rolex example scenario, and in the other we use the hotels, and we also use the fashion brands. Yeah.
Got it. What are some benefits that we can take away from your research findings?
I think this is a very, very interesting, at least I get very excited about the findings we have. And I think we can provide a couple of thoughts for those brand managers, especially those luxury brand managers. So first of all, they should know that they can feel pretty confident to use chatbot in the brand communications. And knowing that chatbot has so many benefits, right? First of all, it's like it can actually enhance the operational effectiveness. It can handle a lot of tasks, and they can work on 24/7 schedule, and they can continue to provide these consistent services because they don't, like human, have a bad days. So this can provide a lot of financial benefits for luxury brand managers to think about the chatbot can be a very, very effective way to go in handling online customers' inquiries. And also, second, I think the other takeaway is that they have to be cautious when they're using emoticons in the chatbot communications. Our findings actually suggest that it probably be a good idea for those traditional luxury brands to stay away from emoticons because it actually will lower luxury brand customers' status perception. But we also explore the other domains. Not only just we are not just examining the traditional luxury brands, we also examine the new luxury, which is like the masstige brands. And we don't think when you use the emoticons in the brand communications for those masstige brands, you will continue to see this negative effect. So which is a good news for luxury brand managers.
I know you mentioned the 24-hour use of the chatbots. How do you think that will affect jobs within the luxury brands? Like, do you think that will create more jobs for people or reduce jobs for them, like for their brand?
I think this is a very, very interesting question. So we know that chatbot actually has been widely applied in many different industries, and we see more of luxury brands start to use that, right? You can see that in Louis Vuitton, in Burberry, and even Dior. So they already use chatbots, and basically they are saying that chatbot has been very, very effective. And I don't think it necessarily reduce the work for human beings, because we know that since the pandemic, there is a shortage of laborers. Actually, chatbot has been a very, very effective way to solve these problems. And when you will be able to use computer programs to provide those scripts to handle all the more standard inquiries, it gives you more room to improve and enhance those personal services. So it might be a good idea, and some of the luxury brands have already started to do that they use chatbot to just address some of the simple questions, and they will be able to direct the other more complicated inquiries to human agents. So this will actually allow those human agents to solve more specific, more complicated, more emotionally loading tasks.
Okay. I know you also mentioned that you researched certain scenarios, like you provided certain scenarios. Which one was your favorite, like conducting when you got the result findings?
I think I really think all of them are pretty cool. For one study, we have the participants to imagine they were actually interact with luxury hotels chatbot. And in that, customers have certain kind of requirements, and the chatbot handle those kind of tasks. And in another, it's about Rolex chatbot. And basically, the customer just want to find out where is like the nearest location luxury store. And for the third one, the chatbot actually handle a more complicated task. They are trying to provide the product selections for customers, for luxury fashion customers. I think all these scenarios are based on the real customers and chatbot communications, and it provides more authenticity to the findings we find. Yeah, and it tried to cover all different, including the product, fashion brands, and services, different categories.
What's the biggest challenge that you face conducting the study?
I think one of the potential challenge with the findings, with the studies, is that we create these very, very great scenarios based on the real customer chatbot communications, but still, it's not like instant feedback. So customers are not really doing this one-on-one instant feedback. So it might probably enhance the experience, customer's experience, or maybe participants' experience a little better if we will be able to just have them to interact with the chatbot in a real time. So I think that probably will be a real benefit right there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yuan Li, for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed learning more about her research and her expertise. Hope you join in next time for the series Research That Matters.